Hi, welcome to the Gear Garage. I'm Zach. This is my little internet show about whitewater stuff. And in today's episode, I want to talk about personal rescue equipment, or PRE. And that's rescue equipment you carry on your person. So in whitewater situations, in groups of rafts, it's good to have rescue gear. And of course, you need training. Don't just have stuff if you don't know how to use it or can use it unsafely. But a lot of times we'll keep it in one big bag on one of the boats, or in a couple, do two separate kits. Depending on who you're boating with and your style, you usually put heavy duty stuff in the boats. And that stuff, if it's a multi-day trip, it's a big static line and big pulleys, and it's some firepower for sure. And even if you're doing something like a day trip or simple, you may have that big rescue kit full of heavy duty stuff, which is a good thing to have. And how you do that, that's a whole separate discussion, but it's good to have on more difficult rivers, especially with training. But it's also good for experienced boaters to carry this PRE stuff on their body. And this stuff will typically be lighter weight. It'll be stuff that you maybe couldn't use to pull off a gear boat, but maybe you could use to pull off like a paddle boat that's maybe wrapped somewhere, stuck on a rock. If a person is pinned, you can use it to create some sort of mechanical advantage to pull a person out. There's a lot of things you can do with this stuff on your body. And my friend Mark Hurst with the International Rafting Federation and he teaches Rescue 3 as well. He believes in the 4-3-2-1 principle. So that'd be 4 carabiners, 3 pulleys, 2 Prusiks, 1 throw bag, and 1 sling of some type, 1 sling or some webbing. This is a pretty fancy Dyneema Sling, and this is something you could use to flip a boat or an anchor. Something you anchor to a tree, or maybe if you had to on a raft somehow, but some sort of sling. I'm really digging this one a lot. And that's a lot of stuff. That's enough stuff for you as a person to show up to something and set up a lightweight 3-to-1 system with a redirect. The reason for the 3 pulleys is you need 2 to do a 3-to-1 and a third to do a redirect. But it's not all about Z-rigs either. It's about other things you can set up with pulleys that you might need. And so I know a lot of times we always go to Z-rigs. That's the stuff you need to do it, but there's a lot of uses for these things as you get more training. So, I've been using this stuff for a while, and how much you carry with you is up to you. That's Mark's suggestion. I don't really have a suggestion. I'm still kind of trying to figure out how I feel, because I also am worried about flotation. I'm a dense person. I don't float really well. And so, when I swim, my head kind of is like near the surface of the water, and PFDs these days have pretty minimal flotation. And so anytime I add metal to my PFD, it drops me down a little bit. So for me, it's definitely a trade-off. Like, it's good to have the safety equipment on my person. It's also good to float, and there's sort of a trade-off there. So because of that, I've been looking at some high-tech gear, and this is some just really nice higher-end stuff that I think a lot of you appreciate. Again, a lot of stuff out there works, but these are things I found that I really like. If I already showed you these Dyneema Slings. This is a Blue Water makes these. Again, these are light, simple, great, easy to use. This Prusik by Stirling, this is the Stirling Auto Block. I just love this thing. It's just the right size, especially to work with a minding pulley. It's brightly colored. It grips onto ropes really well. It has a sewn loop, so instead of having a double fisherman's, which weakens the rope because you have a knot in it, and also just creates like a big bulky thing, it just has this sewn loop, which is great. And typically Prusiks work best. This is just a rule of thumb. If the Prusik rope is half the diameter of the main rope. That's just a general rule of thumb. Where I've really found this auto block works with a nice variety of ropes, bigger than most Prusiks do. It's something about the rope Stirling has chosen to use, but I'm a huge fan. This thing is super sweet. Next is carabiners. I think the Cadillac of carabiners right now for whitewater are these black diamond magnetrons. They look cool. They use magnets for the lock and unlocking mechanism. So this is a locking carabiner that's really svelte, and it's just this mechanism that's really easy to use with 2 fingers. And so I think they're like $18, $19 a piece. They're not cheap. And people have told me that use them a lot, that this magnet area rusts out over time of getting wet. So they don't have as long of a lifespan, from what I've heard, as regular carabiners. But if you're going to have 1 or 2 on your body for rescue, this might be something to consider. It's just, they're very simple to use and kind of nice. And finally is this Rock Exotica. This is the smallest sealed bearing pulley they make. I think it's called the mini machined pulley, and it has a sealed bearing in there. A lot of these small carabiners like this, they'll get water in here and get rusty. And so I have a lot of friends that have, I mean, I said carabiner pulleys. I have a lot of friends that have the small red pulleys that are about this size. And if you pull it out of their PFD, you'll notice it barely turns, it's rusted up. This will last a lot longer because of the sealed bearing. And it's just a really solid pulley. It's small and it can handle 11 millimeter rope. A lot of these small pulleys can only handle like 9 or 10 millimeter rope. So this is just, if you're gonna carry one in your PFD and you have the money, I really believe like this is the one. They're like, I think they're like 60 bucks. They're not cheap, but they're small, they're light, and I feel like combined with these things, you know, a nice system. So again, it's something to consider. And the other thing that I've learned recently, Mark pointed out to me actually, that maybe change how I do things, is I used to put all my pulleys in one place, all my Prusiks in one place, and all my carabiners in one place. And anytime you're doing mechanical advantage and using a pulley, you typically also need a Prusik and a carabiner. So I've been keeping these things together like this, because these are usually things you need together. So, you know, when you set up some system, you don't have to go, let me find the pulleys, let me find the Prusiks, let me find the carabiners. It's like, here, just take this and go. Or if you're gonna do it, you have these things together. Or if you need to have a friend use it, they're ready to go. So, I don't know, I'm pretty excited about this. If you have the money, it's a worthwhile investment if you boat a lot. And again, the three of these, you know, this PFD doesn't have a lot of pockets. It has this one kind of big pocket, but this stuff can fit fairly well in here. And there's still room for my knife and for some sunscreen, and I could put more pulleys and Prusiks in this pocket if I needed to. So they're a good size. So if you're interested in these items, I have a little Amazon list set up with these plus some less expensive Prusiks and pulleys and carabiners that I also like. I'll put it in the show notes below. It's just like the stuff that I like a lot. You know, a few other rescue items I think are really good. And yeah, those of you that have experience with these items in particular, you know, I'd love it if you commented and said, yeah, I have that pulley and it's awesome. Or, yeah, I have that black diamond carabiner and it does rust. And, you know, whatever. I'd love to have comments from those of you with experience. You know, and also if you have questions, as always, ask me questions down in the question area below. So, yeah, that's it for this episode. And thank you. See you next time.